let's get right into it. I think we have to start with the Colts just because literally it came out today that Carson Wentz is having a foot issue, and I mean this is an ongoing report that as we're recording this right now, we don't know all the information. The last report that I got off of my phone was that he doesn't want surgery, but that it's on the table. He's out indefinitely right now. We don't know what to expect with that. I'm going to tell you right now, like for some of my predictions and things like that, because we do our schedule, our record predictions and things like that. I have Carson Wentz playing the full season, so obviously we don't know how that's going to change. I know you adjusted some of yours ahead of time, so you were a little bit more proactive than I was. I just let it ride. We'll see what happens. So yeah, let's start with the Colts. Let's I'm gonna put a graphic up on the board while you're talking about your thoughts and everything there.
See, that's the thing. It's kind of weird how I guess it timed out so perfectly because my thoughts have changed a lot going off of how Carson Wentz is and if he's able to play or not. So out indefinitely sounds a lot worse than I think the actual severity.
Yeah.
What it's sounding like is this is a minor foot thing. Now it can take some minor surgery. He's hoping to avoid that. The biggest thing is, does this linger? Does this totally... Do we get a different product or different version of a Carson Wentz that, for one, I don't think we knew what that was going to be in the first place from what it's been. I think every single year in Philadelphia, he has been a different version of himself, good at times, really, really bad at times, and MVP caliber at times. So to think that he may have to battle this foot injury and have that lingering, I think his ability at quarterback is what could really separate the Colts. Because other than that, the Colts still have a really good offensive line. They have some decent wide receiver weapons. I'm not going to sit here and say they're good. They're decent. I like the way that they have drafted. I haven't seen some of them really hit the way that I thought that they would, and I really like their defense. Their defense is built the right way. They have a tough, gritty secondary. They have a really good front seven. They've been trying drastically to address that defensive line for off seasons over and over again, and I really think they got it right with DeForest Buckner, and I really think that they've made the right moves. But Carson Wentz... maybe not even Wentz, the quarterback. The quarterback play has to be better. It has to get from good to elite if this team is going to be able to make that next step.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. It all does hinge on Carson Wentz and what to expect from his. I mean, we don't know what to expect at this point. So yeah, I absolutely agree. And beyond just the injury, as you said, like we didn't know what to expect before the Carson Wentz thing. I'm going to operate just under this as if he's going to play the season, and this is a preseason issue that will go away or will be dealt with. That's what I'm thinking.
It sounds like week one he might be good.
Yeah, so I'm going to operate under that assumption, and obviously things can change, but I can't. I think it's just the easiest way to have this conversation. So I do think that Carson Wentz is going to be a huge upgrade for this offense. I actually really do like their weapons. A wide receiver, Paris Campbell coming back is going to be a big one. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I thought he did have some sparks last year. I did like that they brought back T.Y. Hilton. So those three I think are a good trio. And then obviously they have a really good running back room led by Jonathan Taylor, obviously, but Nyheim Hines gets in there. They brought Marlon Mack back, so I mean you got pieces there, and you're right. Like this entire team is set up to be really, really good. I do think there's some interesting pieces here. The biggest one, we talked about that offensive line. Costanzo is gone. The surprise retire of Costanzo. I think everyone thought they were going to I think everyone thought they were going to address it in in the draft. They didn't. So right after the draft, what do? They sign Eric Fisher, who did have that injury late in the season. So he don't think he's going to be back for week one, but he'll be back. I still have questions about that. I think that's still going to be a little bit of an issue. If you look over the past 3 years, he is ranked out as the 41st, 33rd, and 31st ranked tackle in pass blocking over the last 3 seasons. So that's that's not special by any means, but it's a good placeholder, I guess, for the future. And it'll be interesting.
Definitely
to
took
see.
a hit though.
It'll be interesting to see how this offensive line. It's certainly not the best offensive line in the NFL anymore.
No, I would give that to Cleveland off the top of my head. For what it was with Indianapolis, they have Braden Smith, who just got a huge payday over there at right tackle. Yeah. And Quentin Nelson speaks for itself.
Of course.
And then with Costanzo, it was surprising to see him go like he did. Eric Fisher it's not even close to a lateral move. It is. Mm-hmm. It's a downgrade.
Yeah, especially injured. But it can be.
But for what it is, he is a veteran. He definitely knows his way around the NFL, and
he could start.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to take anything away from him. I just I
it's
I,
not
I
a,
don't
it's
want
not
people
a
to think that
massive
this is
hole
a
or
fix.
anything. But it's exactly that. It's not the permanent fix.
Yeah,
though.
absolutely. And it is interesting. We talk about they do have a great offensive line. If you watched last year, you might not realize that they were the 32nd most the 32nd healthiest offensive line last year. Meaning they were the most injured offensive line in the NFL. We talked last time we did one of these with the 49ers being the most injured team. Well, this is specifically the most injured offensive line. So I kind of found that to be interesting. Just a fun interesting fact that I wanted to throw in there. But yeah, let's move on. Let's look at some of the stats here. I just want to pull that up, have everybody look at that, and I am struggling. I'm sorry, guys. There it is. All right, so we got some. I love throwing these stats out. Obviously they were a really good offensive team last year with Phillip Rivers. Yeah. So looking at what Carson Wentz can do in this offense, it stands to reason it should be better, right?
Yes. From where Phillip Rivers had regressed, just physical ability, age, getting old and stuff. Carson Wentz has no reason as to why he can't step in here and do better numbers, and these are good numbers too.
Yeah, no, these are borderline top 10, literally across the board, borderline top 10. I think he has every possibility to improve that, and then probably help that sack number too. They were the second most sacked team in the NFL last year.
It's also a problem for Wentz though, is extending the play and then making something that honestly, it's like, just give me the sack.
Yeah,
but
that's a great point. Honestly, yeah,
he struggled heavily in Philadelphia with looking at trying to extend the play and end up throwing some of the most bonehead interceptions I've ever seen.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's so interesting because if you look at Frank Reich, he's had a different starting quarterback every single year he has been with the Colts. Started with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck retires, and then it's Brissett for a year, and then it's obviously it was Phillip last year, and now it's going to be Wentz. Hopefully, it's ridiculous how he has really had no stability at the quarterback position, and yet he's built a really, really good team that's going
year
11
in, year out,
wins.
That's not an excuse, you know, like that. They're still a really good 9, 10, 11 win football team. Making it to the playoffs is what the goal is. I mean, they were a few missed calls away because I know the refs were pretty upset about that game against, all the fans were against Buffalo and stuff. That was a close game in the playoffs, and then who knows what happens from there? Yeah, man,
absolutely. I absolutely agree. Let's keep moving right along here with the. I want to look at their draft right here. Mm-hmm. This was their draft. They went defensive line early and often, and they went. I think maybe people are going to disagree with this with Kwity Paye, but I still believe this. I think they're both all physical traits. I think it's I don't think you have a lot of production there year one. I think these are two guys in the first and second round that they got that are physically gifted players that you're still going to have to, mold into a complete player.
So I like it when good teams, they have the ability and I guess the opportunity to take and bet on those physical traits though, because if it's a team, I'm trying to think, like the Jets or the Jaguars, I guess, or the Texans, a team where you need instant production, plug and play. You need them to be more than just the physical traits where they can pop off. No, Kwity Paye and Deo have the chance to be able to step in and give what they're able to give, have a high motor, have the high energy, and you still have other guys like DeForest Buckner. I know they lost to Justin Houston, but I'm pretty sure they brought on someone else. I can't think off the top of my head. They had another end. Nowhere like a Justin Houston, but good teams like this with a good defense around them, they're not asked to do everything that they don't have to. So that takes a huge weight off their shoulders.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And last thing I do want to do, and by the way, we're not doing the fantasy this week. Honestly, just because I had COVID, I just too tired. I didn't do it. So
it's good. It can be a whole other video.
Yeah, we'll bring that out next week again. But I just didn't have the energy to do it, to be honest with you. So no fantasy talk. But the last thing I want to talk about before we move on with this team is I want to look at their strength of schedule here. We're going to put it on the board right now. You're looking at it. They have the hardest first 5 games of the year, first 5 games of the year, and the easiest final 6. And it is so crazy to look at the polar opposites there. Look at their start of their season. Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Baltimore Ravens.
That's bad.
That's
brutal.
That's brutal. And say what you want about the Dolphins
Technically
and Titans,
could be an 0-5. No, I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, yeah.
Yeah,
could be.
it very, very well could be, especially if Carson Wentz isn't there. And then you do have an easy start. So, like, their schedule as a whole is never going to be considered difficult. But that first 5 games, and I'm a big believer, like, the first month of the season can really do a lot and tell you how your entire season's going to go. Because you lose those first 5 games, you're demoralized. It's hard to get up for week 10 when it doesn't matter.
You lose the first 5, and I think, I don't know what it is, but statistically, it would be almost bare minimum that you make the playoffs at that rate. You know, I remember my Vikings started 2-5, and then I saw something where it was only like 12 or 11% of teams start 2-5 end up finishing.
Yeah.
How can you?
Yeah.
I mean, you've already shot yourself in the foot on the first leg of the race. Like,
exactly.
How can you finish it?
Now, granted, all of those stats don't matter anymore because there's an extra game.
There
so
is,
statistic
yes.
and
It's
there's
all-
an
it's
extra
clean
spot.
slate, yeah.
So pretty much all of those stats are going to have to reset. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's just brutal. I mean, I thought that was interesting. The schedule makers, I feel like, screwed over the Colts a little bit because they didn't give them a bye week until week 14.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do have kind of an easy run. Other than the Patriots, I mean, yeah, you get to play 3 relatively easy games to finish out the year, and that's calling Kyler Murray an easy game.
I was about to say,
I mean,
the Cardinals can mess around and.
Oh, for sure. And, obviously you get the Texans twice, but yeah, rough schedule in general. But I mean, God, those first 5 games, I just saw that. I had to put that up there. I thought that was really, really interesting. But yeah, all right. That's all I have on the Colts. Do you have anywhere else you want to go with that?
No, that's the thing is it all hinges upon Carson Wentz and his ability to get healthy, stay healthy. And I really hope that we can see, I don't hope it because I am kind of like a backdoor Titans fan being in the area and stuff, you know. But if there is a version of Carson Wentz that can be found, Frank Reich can find that again. He can find that MVP status. I guess it's almost like I have a really big thing with wanting to see the second chance again because I think people forget how truly good and electric so-and-so was before the fall. And Carson Wentz in that season before he broke his leg was truly electric. And not to mention it also kind of diminished the fact that Nick Foles was able to step in and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think people forget his ability.
Yeah, it was
into
special.
that season. It was
special.
It would have gone down as one of the greatest seasons we've seen.
Yeah.
And I hope that Frank Reich can pull that back out of Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz has done everything the right way. Mm-hmm. All of it. Even with mentoring the guys under him, Jalen Hurts, all the other ones, so I want to see it for him.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. One last thing, because we didn't really touch on, I know we mentioned the running backs, but I did want to bring it up again. Jonathan Taylor going to take over the reins here, or are we expecting a Marlon Mack or Nyheim Hines to really cut into his fantasy production?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because me and you were on the minority last year, and we both felt like we were right until an injury with Marlon Mack derailed our entire argument. Jonathan Taylor is a talented running back. Me and you have said that from the start.
Never disagreed with that.
We have always said that he was one of my... I don't know if he was my number one.
He was your number one.
Yeah,
he was your
I was
number
about to say he
one.
was pretty close. Super talented, but at the end of the day, the Colts are bringing back Marlon Mack for a reason. I believe that, no doubt. Nyheim Hines at one point was a huge fantasy asset. I mean, they were playing him not only just out of the backfield for some passes, they were using him.
Yeah.
Really using him.
For sure.
First 6 weeks of the year, Jonathan Taylor was very, very underutilized. I don't think it's smart if they continue to do it. I would feed Jonathan Taylor. But then again, hot hand, fresh legs goes a long way.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to keep doing that.
I think Jonathan Taylor's going to be the clear one,
Yes.
and I do think he will get the production. I don't know that it's going to be as maybe wild as some fantasy people are thinking. Like I don't think he's not getting 80% of the touch of the running back touches. You know what I mean?
60.
Yeah, so that's I think it's going to cut in. He'll still probably be 1,000-yard running back. He'll still definitely be 1,000-yard running back in 17 weeks for sure. He'll still probably be very, very fantasy relevant. Probably be an RB1 on the year. I don't know if he'll be a top 5. I'm curious about that. I have questions about that, but we'll see. I think he has the potential for sure.